Good morning, Coach. You mentioned the defensive line starting slow in your comments on Tuesday, and Devin Tompkins talked about it yesterday. And he mentioned how, to him, he felt like that starts at practice and being able to start fast starts there. I'm wondering, what do you think about what it takes for a defensive line to start fast and why that didn't happen on Saturday? Thank you.
Um, I mean, you can sit here and try to diagnose it. I mean, I think anything that doesn't show up good in the game, you're always going to come back and try to practice that, whether it's schematic, um, you know, mentality, fundamentals, whatever it is. I mean, that's our opportunity to address it. I think we had some opportunities to make some impactful plays early on in that game. We missed some opportunities to do that both in the run game and in the throw game, and I think. That's one of those things just as a not just defensive line. I know that's where your question was, but just as a team, that's just one of those things is like we had a great opportunity to really start fast as a team. We didn't do that on either side. And so when you do that against a good team on the road, you're going to be in for a dogfight like we were after that. And so yeah, I mean, I think we've built that group up enough that we have high expectations for it. And that's part of having high expectations is we expect every time that we're on the field to feel the presence. And it really wasn't till later on in the game that we started feeling that a little bit more. And so yeah, I mean it's big expectations and we weren't awful there. We certainly weren't to the standard that we expect out of our defensive front.
Scott?
Yeah, hey Lincoln. It was just last year during the bye week, the coaches kind of hit the road. I know you were at a game last year. Just wondering what your plans are this year. I'm sure you probably can't talk about games or specific schools, but are you guys going to be hitting the road this weekend to hit up some games?
Yep, we are. We are. We practiced early this morning, and then the guys are lifting here, kind of in between their class schedules throughout the day, and then the team will get Friday and Saturday off. Going to try to get the coaches out of here tonight at a decent hour. We got a couple of guys that are on planes already to get out. Some of those that are going out to recruit various places across the country. The majority of our staff tomorrow. We'll be in the state of California, going to high schools, going to high school games. I'll be at a couple of games tomorrow night. So yeah, we're going to really work hard here. A couple guys out, but for the most part, the staff's going to really work hard here and take advantage of the bye week. Obviously, being close to so many great games that we want to get out and see. So we'll feel the high schools, especially in this area, will feel the presence of the Trojans tomorrow night.
How do you decide where, like, if the coaches are going out of state? How do you prioritize those guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of planning going into that. Knowing that obviously we've got two bye weeks this year, we try to strategize on, first I think it's a target list of who you want to see. Obviously the majority of this class is done, and so we want to get out and see some of those guys, certainly, as many as we can. And then you're obviously starting to look ahead at some of the future classes as well. So we've got a target list of players or games that we want to see, and then within our calendar, the bye weeks, and then also their calendar we start to put together a game plan, which is done. This is done well back into August, so that we have a game plan. And then, like any, there's going to be some adjustments as you go along the way in terms of, well, maybe it's a higher priority that we go see this guy early when we thought maybe we wouldn't see him until later. And so there's some natural adjustments that have happened, but really good planning by our personnel staff, and so our guys were prepared and ready to go when this week came up.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ryan?
Hey, Lincoln. When you guys brought in DJ Harvey, it seemed like he was going to be a pretty big part of that cornerback room. He's played kind of sparingly these last few weeks. I know he had the pass interference against Illinois. I guess I just wonder what you've thought of his first 5 games and maybe what he could do going forward to play a bigger role.
Yeah, we've bounced around, corner and nickel with him. He's been one of the guys that when we lost, Profit and Graham and Chasen and all of those guys that admittedly we kind of bounced around position wise, tried to lean on his experience as a college football player, even though he hasn't been with us or in this system as long as some of the others. He's had some really good plays. He's had a couple plays. That certainly he wants back. I thought he came in the game the other day and did some really good things. I didn't I didn't feel like there was pass interference on the play. I thought it was a good aggressive DB play in a late moment and a call that should not have been called. But no, we do. We need his experience. We're pretty young outside of him and DeCarlos. We're pretty young out there on the perimeter right now with not having Profit and Chasen. And so, we need his experience to show up. He's had a really good bye week, but I think his emergence in this kind of next phase of the season will be important for us, and he's going to get every opportunity to do it.
Mark?
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Yesterday, when we had the opportunity to speak with Bishop Fitzgerald, he made a comment that I thought was really interesting. He talked about how the team's really motivated right now, to get back out there and show what they're capable of doing. But he also said, we might have needed that loss to get our heads back on. Was there any sense maybe from you and the staff that the guys were starting to maybe read their press clippings at all?
I don't know that I could have said that going into that one. The way that we've practiced, I think the way that we've practiced would not suggest that. These guys have practiced hard. They've come to the practice field motivated. I mean, I think the one area that you could point to is, we've constantly harped on this team from obviously a penalty standpoint. And that listen, we're winning some of these games, but we're making unforced errors. And when you play good teams, it's going to be a lot harder to get away with it. And if we want to be the team we want to be, like this is something that we gotta correct. So, I hope it catches our attention there, that we've obviously, given teams, too much that they haven't earned, and something that in this next set of games and going forward, we're going to have to be better at. But yeah, I mean, I think, listen, anytime you come in on the losing end of a game like that certainly could have gone either way, you've got to flip it and you got to have a great mentality, and we've got to use that for the positive, and we've got to make sure it makes us better. I know I said it after the game, but college football nowadays, you're not going to have a lot of teams run the table. Like, it's just not, it's not going to happen very often anymore. And so probably more than ever, your ability to bounce back and learn and grow after a loss is probably even more magnified than it's been in college football in recent times. And so we're going to, this team has that opportunity. We got to use it that way and be better because of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Haley?
Good morning. When we first started talking to you about Weman Jordan, you called him a diamond in the rough. So I'm kind of wondering, in what ways did he live up to your expectations? And also, what are some of the challenges of moving, a really good JUCO running back to the FBS? I mean, notably, he had those 2 early game fumbles. Is that just circumstantial? What's been his development like?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been an effective player for us. He's done a lot of really positive things, but great backs can't fumble the ball. I mean, those have been, 2 huge plays. We were able to obviously get away with the first one, and he came back and had a lot of very positive snaps the other day after. And I do think you feel his experience and the fact that he's played in some games, like it doesn't crush him. He's been able to respond, but there's no denying it was a big play, moving the ball down the field and the chance to go set the tone of the game right in the beginning. So, he knows he's got to be better than that in terms of his ball security and making sure that we end the play with the football. But he's doing a lot of really good things for us. He's running really hard. He's catching the ball well. He's been a very dynamic playmaker for us here the first 5 games. And now there's going to, like any of these players, there's going to be things that, all right, catch your breath here in the bye week, really go work on. We gave every player a laundry list of things like, hey, here's the target areas that when we get to the end of this week, you have to be better at. Here's the plan to do it. Now let's go execute it. And Weman was no different.
Scott?
Yeah, I just had a question on the defensive backs that are hurt right now, young guys. Alex Graham, RJ Sermon sounds like he's healthy and potentially an option for you guys. Those guys both sounds like didn't get to practice maybe a whole lot during the fall and maybe even into part of this season. How ready could those guys potentially be for you, in the upcoming weeks?
We're pushing it. RJ missed I would say the back half of camp and kind of beginning of the season. And then Graham's issue came up, I think, the week before the first game. And so they both missed They both missed extended time. Graham had missed a little bit of time, previously as well. And so, yeah, you hate that for young guys. They're two guys that are talented enough to contribute for us right now. There's no question. So I think you're on just a race against time right now to just get them ready, pump as many reps into those guys, because they clearly had the ability. And I think, both look like they have a real option to become really good players here for us. So obviously, with some of the depth concerns in the secondary, we want that to be able to happen sooner rather than later. We pumped a ton of reps into those guys here in the bye week. Thought that was very beneficial. Alex obviously has been here a little bit longer. So he's probably a little bit closer to being ready to help us on Saturdays. He was definitely trending that way before the injury came up before the season. RJ has incredible talent. He's going to be a really good player here, but he's also battling not just the injury, but he wasn't here until mid-July, and so it's not even just missing spring, it's missing 60 to 70% of summer as well. And then just and not to mention he's a reclass guy that should still be in high school. So like, he's going to be fabulous. He's got that. He's trying to make up for that time right now, and he's definitely getting better quickly. I definitely wouldn't put it past him to help us this season, but I think Graham is right now today a little bit closer just because of the time invested here up to this point.
Where would Alex help you out most, position wise?
Yeah, I mean, he can definitely, we've actually worked him at a little bit of everything kind of leading up, but I think, nickel is a spot that he certainly could help at and would probably be his first opportunity to contribute for our secondary.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Eric?
Hey, Lincoln, during the bye week, on the defensive side, what did you see as kind of your keys, like the to-do list to get done during this bye week?
We did a lot of fundamental work, block destruction, just making sure that we're closing some of the air in the run game. So we spent a lot of time on that with the guys. We obviously, with some of the moving pieces in the secondary, we did a lot of different work in terms of communication, making sure our coverage adjustments, motion adjustments were buttoned up, and thought that time it was good to have it, obviously, and having a few of these guys starting to get back healthy a little bit was certainly, I think very, very helpful. We spent time with our guys on some of the penalties. The majority of our penalties have come from the defensive side. And so we spent some time in terms of, going back through those penalty education, making sure if we have a penalty, it's an aggressive penalty that happens in the flow of play versus some of the intolerables, which we've had too many of. So, yeah, and then I mean each position group and each guy had even more specifics on top of that. But from a general perspective, those were the biggest areas that we targeted for the entire group.
And we'll wrap it up with these last two. Shotgun.
And Lincoln, kind of continuing on that, I know your bye week often is an opportunity to get the young guys some work and see where they've developed. But do you treat these bye weeks different when you have two in like a 4-week span?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think it's having two and then having one still relatively early. Now, like I said Saturday, I mean, we haven't honestly really the entire season. We haven't been a real healthy football team quite yet. And so there's a handful of guys that we had to dedicate the week to, you know, get some work in, but make sure that we're getting them, closer from a health standpoint, getting some guys back. We we did work a lot of the varsity guys, pretty heavy, especially on Tuesday, Wednesday. We practiced Sunday night after the game as well and had a good practice then, but we got after it pretty good Tuesday, Wednesday with those guys. And then each day we also took some periods, including this morning, and featured the young guys and tried to get a few more competitive reps with them than maybe we might be able to get in a normal game week. So yeah, I mean, I think this was we treated this, I think, like a typical early one where get the guys healthy that need to get healthy. Everybody else has a lot of work that we got to dive into and clean up to be ready for the next set of games, and then also continuing to bring along your young guys.
Thank you.
And Karchi?
Hey, Lincoln, we haven't asked you about Caden Chittenden in a while. obviously I think it was assumed, at least by us, that he was going to be the starting kicker coming into the season, but Ryan has done so well while he's been out. I guess I wonder, do you just continue going with Ryan as even Caden comes back, or where's he at maybe in his recovery?
Yeah, we'll let it unfold a little. I mean, Caden is, he had a hard time for a while just gaining momentum in the recovery. Just kind of two steps forward and then one step back. And it's just been one of those injuries. I mean, a hamstring for a kicker it's unique. It's different than any other position having it. And so, I think Caden has definitely progressed from a health standpoint. He was able to do more this week than he's been able to do the last, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks have been a good build up where he hasn't had any setbacks, and I think he's getting close to starting to be able to really kind of let it loose again. But like you said, I mean, Ryan's kicking so well. He's been a machine on kickoffs. He's done really well on field goals. I mean, every one he's hit very well. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't think, if a guy's playing at a high level, no matter who it is, I mean, we wouldn't make a change just because of that. So obviously hope to have Caden back. Think he's a tremendous player and can do nothing but help us. But obviously I've been super impressed with Ryan, and not just the execution, but just his mentality, just going in there. I mean, these moments he's shown he's certainly been ready for all of these moments that have come up, and not only the way he's hit the ball, but just kind of the feel and just kind of watching him go about his business. Like there's no fear in that kid, which is pretty cool at such a young age.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Riley. And before we close, it's time for Conquest Command, a question from the front lines of the Trojan Army. Our question this week is from content creator USC Priority. You can follow him on X and on Instagram at USC Priority. Coach Riley, the Olympics are coming to the Coliseum. Who are the four guys you'd put on the track for your 4x1 relay?
Oh, interesting question. We have some good candidates. I would say Tanuk. I would say RJ Sermons, uh, Eli Sanders. Would be my other one. Oh, Romero Ison. Yeah, that'd be my four. We get there. We'd have a couple of pretty good backups too. Cam Sermons, and we got a couple other guys that can roll pretty good. But I think those four guys out there could throw a pretty legit time down.
Thank you, Coach Riley, and thank you, media. We will see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.